Okay, let's unpack this.
Mm-hmm.
We are diving deep into some really interesting stuff today. It's excerpts from the lectures of Charles Haddon Spurgeon.
Right, the big 19th century preacher guy. They called him the Prince of Preachers.
Yeah, exactly. And it might seem like, an odd source for insights on modern communication or leadership.
But it's actually surprisingly relevant. We're looking at it as a kind of blueprint for high-stakes communication, professional conduct, that sort of thing.
Right. So our mission here is to filter out the specific religious context and pull out the universal lessons, how to be effective, how to be powerful, how to be sincere as a speaker or leader.
And he starts with this incredibly high bar, doesn't he? Authenticity, visible authenticity.
That Latin phrase, vividis vultus.
Vivida oculi, vivide manus. Yeah, basically a vivid face, vivid eyes, vivid hand.
Meaning you have to be fully present, fully alive.
Completely. If there's any gap, between what you're saying and what you seem to believe deep down, he thinks the whole message just collapses.
So sincerity isn't just a nice to have.
No, it's fundamental, like the absolute price of admission for him. Hashtag the essential foundation of power and authenticity.
Okay, so if that's the goal, that visible authenticity, where does he say the power actually comes from? He starts with this sine qua non idea.
The indispensable condition, yeah. And for him, in his context, it was true piety or conversion.
But for us, translating that, it's more like, what? Genuine vocation.
Yeah.
Real commitment to something bigger than yourself.
Exactly. A deep internal calling. He basically says a leader without that is just, well, a name and nothing more. The title means zip if the inner conviction isn't there.
Okay, but this internal proof, how does he handle the criticism that it's maybe just, wishful thinking or self-delusion, people demanding hard facts?
Well, so he actually goes right at those skeptics, the ones who want cold, quantifiable facts.
He calls it the old commercial doctrine of grad grind.
Ew.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. From Dickens' Hard Times. Grad grind, the guy who hated imagination, only wanted facts. Spurgeon says, look, the speaker's proof isn't external data. It's internal. It's experiential.
So what does that experience actually feel like, according to him?
Well, he describes it as this definite sense, a consciousness of new life, and crucially, feeling a power when speaking that infinitely transcends any personal capacity or eloquence.
So more than just getting pumped up for a speech.
Oh, definitely. He specifically says it's different from the normal enthusiasm you might get giving a lecture or, a political speech. It's something else, a force that lifts your performance beyond just training or confidence.
And he puts this down to a divine spirit, effectively, saying, without that, the role, the office, is just empty.
Pretty much. He argues this internal impulse gives you wisdom knowing what to say and when, and also the sheer momentum, the drive to communicate in a way that actually causes change. Holy and happy changes, he calls them.
Which brings us to that amazing story he tells about, well, multitasking doesn't even cover it, does it? Cognitive load.
Oh, that anecdote is wild. It sounds almost impossible.
He claimed he was tracking, 8 distinct streams of thought, all at the same time,
Meh.
while preaching?
Yes. It wasn't just delivering the sermon. He's noticing a woman fainting over here, mentally looking for the person who handles the windows to get some air moving, while also formulating the structure for the next section of his talk.
Wow.
And analyzing how someone specific in the crowd reacted to something he said earlier, and apparently engaging in his own personal prayer and praise, all simultaneously.
That's just an incredible level of mental juggling.
It really is. And his conclusion is that this isn't just him being exceptionally bright or focused. He attributes this ability, managing the crowd, the room logistics, his own thoughts, the rhetoric, personal devotion, everything to that internal spirit multiplying his mental states, lifting him, as he puts it, beyond natural human limit.
A pretty compelling case for what peak performance feels like when it's fueled by that deep, genuine conviction. Hashtag intellectual rigor and balanced truth.
Okay, so conviction is the engine. But what about the fuel? What are you actually putting into that engine? He moves from the internal life to, intellectual prep.
Right. Sincerity and passion are great, but he insists they're kind of useless without rigor.
Exactly. He's very direct. Communicators need to be instructed well in theology or, for our purposes, possess a deep mastery of the core principles and systems in their field.
And he warns that leaders who aren't experts, who don't have that deep knowledge, they risk making crass errors.
Yeah, and he's got this great critique of intellectual laziness, hasn't he?
Eureka.
That's the one. He slams people who find one little isolated phrase or idea and shout, "Eureka!" like they've found the key to the universe.
When really it's just a shard of glass, not a diamond.
Precisely. You need to grasp the whole system, the comprehensive truth, not just the little bits that seem exciting or confirm what you already thought.
So deep mastery of your core subject is non-negotiable. But he also pushes for intellectual breadth, doesn't he? Looking outside your main area.
Oh, absolutely. He basically says, don't ignore any field of knowledge. He lists things like natural history, botany, geology, travel writing, even alchemy.
Alchemy, really?
Yeah. His point is that insights can come from anywhere, unexpected places. He uses the image of Samson finding honey in the lion's carcass.
Okay. So be curious, learn widely.
Right. But with a key condition, knowledge won't make you arrogant. It won't inflate you if you also have plenty of grace or, let's say, genuine humility.
So if you have all this deep knowledge, both core and broad, how do you avoid just overwhelming people? How do you keep it balanced and accessible?
That's the tricky part, isn't it? The balancing act. He insists you have to deliver the truth, the whole message from all angles. No skipping bits, no exaggerating others.
Avoid playing favorites with the information, basically, even if parts are uncomfortable.
Exactly. You can't just cherry pick.
Like that story he tells about the Scottish woman who liked the sermon until.
That damn bit about duties at the end.
Yeah.
Yes. People naturally lean towards the easy stuff, the promises, the consolations. But he says real wisdom means presenting that alongside the practical stuff, the calls to action, the duties. You need the full picture.
Or you risk misleading people.
Totally. And then there's the structure, how you actually package this potentially dense information. He's quite pointed about the modern audience, calls them degenerate or maybe just busy.
Okay. And what's his advice for this degenerate audience?
He says they only want 30 grams of doctrine at a time, highly concentrated, not 5 kilos of undissolved theology.
Right. Bite-sized chunks.
And delivered with clear, logical structure. His analogy is great. Your thoughts need to march like infantry in ordered lines.
Not run around like a confused mob.
Exactly. Not like tea, mustard, and rice mixed in a basket. Order is key. It makes complex ideas digestible and crucially makes them stick. Hashtag practical oratory and avoiding affectation.
Okay, so we have conviction as the base, ordered truth as the content. Next up is delivery. And for him, clarity is paramount.
Utterly. He has zero patience for speakers who are vague or confusing.
His line is pretty blunt, if you're not understood.
You probably don't understand yourself. Simple as that.
Ouch.
And he's got that analogy for speakers who try to sound profound by being obscure.
The deep preacher.
Yeah, often just a dry well full of muck and dead leaves. But if the well actually has water, actual substance, you see the clarity reflected right back at you. True depth for him shows itself through simplicity.
And that clarity also needs to be tailored, right? You have to match your style to who you're talking to.
Oh, absolutely essential. He makes this really stark comparison.
Like talking to academics versus talking to coal miners.
Exactly. Using super technical jargon with laborers or, conversely, using really basic market slang with highly educated people.
Yeah.
He says you just come across as an idiot or crazy.
Yeah, you have to meet people where they are. Makes sense.
You have to demonstrate that you actually connect with them, understand their world instantly.
And this brings us back again to sincerity.
It always comes back to that, doesn't it? He contrasts the honest speaker with the liar. When someone genuinely believes what they're saying,
Everything in him corroborates his sincerity.
Yeah.
It just flows naturally.
That's the idea. Whereas, he says, a rascal has to consciously work to tell a convincing lie.
because our faces weren't designed for it.
Yeah, that's his humorous take. The facial organs were not initially constituted for transmitting falsehoods. Basically, honesty is efficient, lying is hard work, physically and mentally.
Okay, now let's get to his critique of bad speaking habits. The mannerisms. He calls them the grotesque.
Oh, these are brilliant. So visual. They're basically critiques of speakers being self-absorbed instead of message-focused.
Like the penguin style. What even is that?
He describes it as sticking your thumbs into your waistcoat armholes
Okay.
and then throwing back the coat sides to show off your shirt front.
Huh.
He just dismisses it, says it's fine for maybe a footman or some fraternal lodge member, but not for a serious public speaker.
Right. Then there's the motor of perpetual preacher.
Yeah, the person who's constantly moving. Like every single word has a hand gesture or a point or a clap.
Which just cancels everything out, right?
Right.
If everything is emphasized, nothing is.
Exactly. It becomes pure distraction. White noise visually.
And the last one, the mechanical methodic.
This one sounds almost robotic, moving like an automaton. Raise one arm, pause. Raise the other arm, pause.
Yeah.
Or just the hand, up and down, like clockwork.
Ugh, yeah, completely disconnected from any real feeling.
Totally. These external habits, when they're not connected to genuine internal feeling, just destroy the connection in the message.
And that story about the minister who needed his gloves.
Oh, the black kid gloves. Yeah, couldn't preach without them. Realized mid-sermon they were missing and actually had to stop and leave the pulpit.
Wow.
It illustrates the point perfectly. These things, the gloves, the fancy handkerchiefs, the diamond rings, he also mentions they're not just little quirks. They become crutches, affectations. They put up a wall between the speaker and the audience.
So the takeaway is, just be yourself, even if you're a bit awkward naturally. Better that than being fake.
That's exactly it. Authenticity, even clumsy authenticity, beats polished insincerity every time. In his book, #Fieldwork and Sustaining Fervor.
Okay, so you've got the conviction, the content, the technique, the authenticity. How do you keep it fresh? How do you sustain that energy, that fervor, especially with people who hear you all the time?
Yeah, the usual hearers, he calls them. The ones who might get a bit complacent or used to your style.
His solution seems counterintuitive, but brilliant. Go preach outside.
Right. A few times a year, just break the routine. Go preach in a field, a garden, on a hillside.
Why? What does that do?
He argues the sheer novelty of the setting wakes people up. It jolts the audience, and probably the speaker too, out of their habitual, maybe mechanical way of listening.
Like his analogy of the Londoner living near the train tracks.
Exactly. After a while, you just don't hear the noise anymore. It fades into the background. Changing the environment forces everyone to pay fresh attention. To the surroundings, yes, but hopefully also to the message itself.
But it's not just about changing the scenery for the audience, is it? He tells his students they need to get out there themselves.
Yes. Studies from life, he calls it. Essential. You can't just stay in your study or office.
Like a botanist needs to actually see real flowers.
A leader, a minister, needs to mix with real people, see life as it's lived.
And he specifically says, go to the tough places, the alleyways, the poor areas.
Yes. Go see the real-world impact of hardship, of sin, as he'd put it, poverty, distress, shame, death. He believed seeing that raw reality firsthand would be enough to reignite anyone's flagging passion or zeal.
Because you can't really connect with people or aim to transform them if you keep yourself separate from their actual struggles.
Precisely. That connection fuels the purpose.
And that purpose, the primary goal, has to stay front and center, right? The transformation of the listener.
Always. He advised preaching with this intense expectation, this conviction, that people will respond. They'll either accept the truth, surrender to it, or, well, they'll be left with no excuse for not doing so.
That's a high bar for delivery.
It is, but he backs it up with history. Points to examples of people who did this effectively, often outdoors.
Like George Wishart, barred from the church, so he just set up in the market square.
Yep. And apparently preached with huge impact. Or John Livingstone, whose sermon at Shotts in the pouring rain.
It led to 500 conversions, supposedly.
Yeah. The power wasn't in the building, it was in the conviction-fueled delivery. #the blind eye and deaf ear. Self-management.
Okay, this level of intensity.
Yeah.
Preaching with that much conviction, doing those studies from life, it must take a toll. It requires some serious self-management.
Oh, definitely. And Spurgeon gives some surprisingly practical, almost modern-sounding advice on handling the inevitable fallout, the criticism, the gossip.
What does he suggest?
Develop a blind eye and a deaf ear, especially for personal stuff.
Like arguments about salary or local rumors.
Exactly. He specifically mentions acid-pouring, tea-drinking ladies. You have to learn to tune out that kind of noise.
Easier said than done, maybe.
Probably. But he quotes Lord Bacon to back it up. The provident forgoes investigating what he would hate to discover.
Meaning?
Basically, don't go looking for trouble. It's often better not to know every little thing people might be saying about you, whether they're friends or enemies.
If you feel you have that internal conviction, that divine approval, in his terms, then what other people think. It matters less.
Right. And trying to hunt down every rumor or squash every bit of criticism is just, well, he implies it's a sordid activity. It distracts you from your actual mission.
And he gets really practical about the physical side of this too, doesn't he? Almost like modern talk about burnout.
It's incredibly relevant. He mentions another figure, Duncan Matheson, who apparently believed that dyspepsia is mistaken for apostasy.
Wow. Say that again?
Dyspepsia, like indigestion, is mistaken for apostasy, and bad digestion is recommended as hardness of heart,
That's really insightful. How often we blame character flaws or lack of motivation.
when actually it might just be physical exhaustion or illness, a physical breakdown presenting as a moral or professional failure.
Yeah.
So sometimes the answer isn't deep soul-searching, it's, well, he mentions getting enough sleep, or even suggests peppery meat broth to help the voice and energy. Simple physical fixes.
The mind-body connection, basically. Your spiritual or professional life is tied to your physical well-being.
Absolutely. Which leads to his final point in this section, the absolute need for rest.
You can't just work perpetually.
No. He uses analogies. Even pack animals need rest. The tide pauses. The earth has its Sabbath in winter.
So the leader, the speaker, has to consciously choose to rest, to clean his lamp, as he puts it.
Or what?
Or you'll just burn out, grow old before your time. He argues you'll actually achieve more in the long run if you build in periods of stepping away and recharging.
Okay, so if we try and pull all these threads together, this whole deep dive, what's the core message?
It seems to be that real power, real influence in communication starts with this deep, almost mystical internal conviction or dependence.
Right, that force that transcends your own ability.
But that has to be backed up by serious intellectual rigor, knowing your stuff inside and out.
And then delivered with absolute clarity, real fervor, and total sincerity. No faking it, no weird mannerisms.
Be yourself, basically. Even if yourself is a bit rough around the edges, authenticity trumps everything.
Yeah. It really boils down to recognizing the weight of your influence.
And he uses that final, really stark metaphor, doesn't he? The public clock.
The incorrect clock at the Horse Guards in London, if it's wrong.
It misleads half the city, causes everyone who relies on it to walk in error.
Which kind of leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty provocative thought to chew on, doesn't it?
Yeah. In your own sphere of influence, your workplace, your family, your community, wherever it is, you function as a kind of public clock for the people around you.
So the question is, what kind of collective error, what kind of shared misalignment might you be responsible for if your own internal mechanisms, your convictions, your knowledge, your sincerity are neglected or running slow or just plain set wrong?